Thank you very much indeed, Chair. And if I can join in the welcome to our guests, and indeed, as my colleague Senator Crockwood did, I want to particularly welcome Nora Owen, whom I had the privilege of working alongside in the past, and I can testify or know from that experience her huge energy. And in fact, when I go abroad now and within the Council of Europe, your cabinet legislation, Nora, I get asked about it all the time, and in fact it's been studied by countries all over Europe and implemented in some instances. It was a precursor and it was a trailblazer. Now, quickly to ask a few questions in deference to the time considerations, Chair. In the context of COVID, I know I couldn't come earlier because of Senate duties, but I know that from the context of what I picked up on, and I have read the briefing materials and the initial submissions, but I know that Deputy Clark has raised the whole COVID question and how it has impacted negatively on women and set women's rights back a lot. If I could just focus in on one dimension there, and I'd like a further comment maybe from the guests on that, is my understanding, and I'm involved with another international body here, but my understanding is that education of women internationally has taken a huge setback, and it's very, very disturbing what's happened there, and it's the education of young women has taken a setback in the sense that it's actually ceased in many instances and it's thwarted in others. If I could ask you about Palestine, of course, as you say in your initial submission, we're very happy as a committee that you have hands-on involvement there, and I'm not going to go back to chronicle the shocking events of Palestine, but to ask you this, it's good that you're involved with gender-based violence there, but could I ask you about the cultural context there? Would it be valid to say that in the entire region there, Western values in terms of women's rights and Western values towards gender balance and gender equality would not be pertaining to the same degree? And our culture, are you encountering cultural negativity towards women there that needs overcoming quite apart from the violence itself? You mentioned in the Defence Forces in your submission masculinization. I'd like you to comment further on that, and maybe to comment on how you perceive young women who join the Defence Forces, how their operational day-to-day lives are, and are there any inbuilt or are there discriminatory practices there? Do they experience any sort of subtle discrimination or a gender-based discrimination? I'd be interested in that. The horrible and shocking and barbaric practice of female genital mutilations, you referenced that in your submission. Would you comment further on where we're at with that? And I suppose that neatly leads to a question around the direct provision centres. There's a government commitment to get rid of them, but would you comment on the position of women there? And lastly, and finally, Chair, and I'm trying to be deferential to your wish to get on with things, it's very good that you're involved, that the country has a strong position on sexual violence in the Tigray region, and maybe somebody of the guests would elaborate on what the very contemporary position is there, because what we were reading and hearing from there was just beyond human description or beyond words. So thank you very much and welcome to our guests, and thanks, Chair, for the opportunity.